Hi everyone, I am really excited to make today's video. I will be giving you 20 plus story ideas for your next book. Some of these story ideas are ideas I'm currently trying to execute. However, the key word here is trying. I'm not really writing these stories, so I thought that these ideas deserved their recognition, so I wanted to make this video. I just have so many ideas, and if you're worried that these story ideas are like direct copies of my original work, don't be. I feel like a story has so many elements, and these are just tiny threads, so I think anyone can use them. And are any ideas like original these days? I don't know. So yeah, we're gonna get started because I'm gonna talk so much. But also, I want to just give a shout out to Anna New. She inspired me to make this video. She made 2 videos like this. I'll link her channel down below. So as you guys know, I'm a huge sci-fi person, but I didn't want this video to be like so saturated by sci-fi ideas, so I have a mix of both sci-fi, fantasy, and also contemporary. So the first story idea I have, I think it's a very Kelly story. I mean, I did try to make this into a novel and it didn't really work. So it's a world where a company can buy mods to make their employees work more. So people with a lot of mods, they're kind of in a lower class, and the story is about someone with a lot of mods falls in love with someone with not a lot of mods. I really did try to make this into a story idea, except I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't do it. So if someone does it, please let me know. I feel like this is so interesting. This stems from a little bit of K-pop, I guess, how plastic surgeons, like plastic surgery, is encouraged for you to become an idol, and a lot of different ways companies like try to appease you so you can work more for them. For example, like big companies like Google and Amazon, Facebook, they have free breakfast, free lunch, free dinner, encouraging you to work longer. So I really like that concept, and I think it's really fun to play with. The second idea is 2 people share the same memory and they realize they're clones of each other. I have a novella idea where 2 people do share the same memory, and I feel like there's such an intimate connection you can make with these 2 people. And if you add on that layer of clones, like who's cloning you? What are you a clone of? And how do these cloned individuals interact with each other? How much of them are they similar? How much of them are they different? What makes a clone a clone? All these questions, I love it. I love it. Okay, we're gonna switch to a less sci-fi genre. I just thought of this one like literally a few hours ago. This would be like a Peter Pan retelling, but make it sapphic and make it fae. So the main character in this actually would be Tinkerbell, and Tinkerbell will be a fae. I was thinking that Peter Pan could also be a fae, and he's convincing humans to turn into fae to keep their appearances, make them, you know, forever immortal. But then we find out that Peter is actually evil, and he's trying to create an army of humans turned fae to go against the humans, and Wendy and Tinkerbell can like team up. I think this idea needs to be thought out just a little bit more, but I can see that as a really grounding scenario and premise. I think with the sapphic relationship and the retelling in the fae, I can see this being highly commercialized. Number 4, okay, this is a good one. I think this one can be highly commercialized too. So this is a tournament to become the best dragon hunter in the world. I was thinking for one of these ideas, like one of the paths for this idea is that people are conditioned to hate dragons for some unknown reason in society, and our main character will probably win the dragon tournament, and when they face a dragon, it's like, wow, you're not so bad after all. And I feel like that can change the way the main character's arc goes. Like, she's thinking that this is evil, but it's not actually evil, and that's like a motif, or that's like a turning point to her being a good person. I was also thinking that this could be perhaps a Sleeping Beauty retelling too. I don't know why I have so many like fairy tale retellings here. I think I inherently like them for some reason. I think they're fun, but you can also make like the winner of this have to save Sleeping Beauty, but then you find out that the dragon was actually protecting Sleeping Beauty. I don't know, there can be some cool twists on it. Dragons are, well, first of all, they're so popular right now, but there's so many different interpretations of them, and my favorite interpretation of a dragon recently that I consumed was actually the Dungeons and Dragons movie. There was a dragon in that movie. I don't want to spoil it, but the way it was, it was such a fresh take on dragons, so I think you can do a lot with this idea. All right, number 5. oof, okay. I did try to turn this into a story idea years ago. It just didn't work. So this is a character who makes a deal with the devil because they are insecure. They want to be a famous person, except instead now the main character can change their face every time they're envious of a certain person. This was sort of almost directly taken from Full Metal Alchemist with the envy character. This one impacted me a lot because I feel like I'm sometimes a very envious person, and it makes me think like, what would happen if I just like took on someone's face and pretended to be them for a day. There are probably rules that you are gonna have to like go through, because I don't know how it's gonna happen when two people have the same face at the same time. So there are some rules to this, but I thought it was interesting, and also this was kind of also inspired by The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Okay, number 6. This one I thought of low-key in a dream when I was 18. This is a banished prince who gets taken into a neighboring or the opposite enemy country, and starts to integrate himself into the society, ends up falling in love with the daughter of one of the government leaders. However, this whole time he was just being set up to infiltrate the enemy, and he leaves, and the story really begins like, I would say like 10 years later, when both characters are adults and have to face each other, go through some turmoils, remember the childhood friendship / love. And this was, I think, one of my first like enemies to lovers story that I ever came up with on my own before that trope I think even became a thing. I think I wrote like a prelude or something in this premise, but it's not going anywhere. Okay, number 7 is a secondary world where technology is taking over magic and no one is believing in magic anymore. I personally love stories that tie in fantasy and sci-fi elements and make the world kind of choose which side they want. It's always interesting for me to see like technology versus magic in existing fiction. One of the Korra seasons I think addresses this. It might have been the first one with Anouk, if that's his name, I can't remember, but it's interesting to see the extent of magic being used and how much technology can catch up. I think it allows for a lot of different dynamics in play. Okay, number 8. Number 8 is an academy for vampires and humans to bridge the tension between vampires and humans. This can be a dual point of view between a vampire and a human. I am a sucker for vampire stories. As everyone knows, I love Vampire Knight, which this is kind of taken from. I think that vampire academies, I can see like interesting play and dynamic between humans and vampires. I did start a first chapter like years ago with this premise, except it didn't really go anywhere. But it would have been fun, sexy. I think you can do a lot with vampire bites. Like vampire bites, I think I read this other manga when I was younger. I forgot what it was called. Vampire Kiss. It was like a very low-key manga that I didn't really see anywhere. I know I'm getting sidetracked, but every time they bit each other, something cool was happening. Okay, number 9, another vampire one, because I think I do love vampires. So this one is 2 vampire hunters are lovers until one of them gets turned into a vampire. I think this one can play to that lovers to enemies to back to perhaps lovers. I think that this idea, I don't know if okay, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but there was a story I read in which the main character or one of the characters like really hated, for example, vampires, and then they get turned into a vampire and then they like really hate themselves. I think you don't have to make your character hate yourself or anything, but that's like an interesting dynamic to play with. And on top of like losing your partner, losing someone that you thought you were striving, you know, to do one thing together, now you're broken apart, and now, oh my god, you're a vampire and I'm a vampire hunter. Like, do I kill you? Do I not kill you? I love it. I love it. Okay, we're halfway through 10. This story, I actually forgot I had it. This was probably the earliest story idea I have in this list. I came up with it, I think when I was 14, 15. That was in like 2009, 2010. This is a pandemic story. I didn't realize it until like I wrote it down. The idea was that there are 2 extremist groups of people. One, people who are advocating the spread of this virus that will kill like 25% of the universe because they want to reset Earth because of climate change issues, population growth issues, all that fun stuff, economy, inflation issues. I feel like I'm still writing the same things, and I'm almost 30 and I came up with this when I was like 14, 15. It's actually pretty funny. And then the other side is, we don't want this. This is actually evil. You're gonna kill everyone for the sake of this new world that might not even actually be perfect. All right. The next story idea, I also came up with this one when I was really young. I made it more make sense in this video, or for this idea. So it's a bad boy gets kidnapped and turned into a ghost, and he will be immortal until he falls in love with someone, and that person can see him. What? A bad boy gets turned into a ghost, and he'll only break out of this curse if he falls in love, and that will be someone who can actually see him for the first time in like years. I had this idea because I think I really liked Danny Phantom at one point in my life, and also I like the redemption arc story a little bit, especially if it's like a bad person that disappears but like no one cares about. That's actually pretty sad. It actually says a lot about society as well. So like, what does that say about the society for a rebellious teenager to disappear and no one cares? Perhaps his ghostliness can equate to like all the bad things he's done in his life. So he's a ghost, but people can still see his bad things, so that's why they're not actually seeing him. Okay, next one. Okay, this is actually an idea that I started writing but never finished, of course. I don't know when I'm sharing these ideas because like they're a little bit similar to mine, but they're also a little bit different, and I don't know when I'll ever work on any of these books. So Earth will be dead in the next 100 years, and all people want to do is party, and no one cares about the end of the world, or everyone is looking forward to the end of the world. I think this is an interesting concept because I've never in my life seen a piece of media where people don't care about dying, where people are celebrating the end of life so they can be as hedonistic as they want. I think that's a very interesting concept. Like, what are the characters, different types of characters that can arise in this kind of society? Okay, the next few are a bit more contemporary, or even more in this real world, less genre. So this one is a girl exiles, forces herself to solo travel after she does something bad, and she learns life lessons along the way. This one is probably the most like literary or even upmarket idea I have on this list. I mean, I'm not really going to pursue this, but I was thinking that it would be, I don't know, slower paced, more literary, more exploration of what I would say like early 20s people go through, especially like in our current world where everything's about like get a job, make money, buy a house. But what are some there are a lot of challenges. What are challenges that can come from that, and the pressures of coming from that? There's that transition period in your life where you go from a kid and then you become an adult, and then you lose that like sense of life and joy and innocence. So how does this person navigate that while also kind of repenting for some horrible things she did in the past? I think I wrote like the first, I don't know, 5,000 words years ago. Okay. Number 14. This is also an idea that I started working on, I think in like 2013, but I couldn't do it. This one is an influencer attends a small college to escape attention. I think the world of influencers is extremely interesting. I wouldn't say I'm an influencer at all. This role in our society, I don't know if it's a good thing actually or a bad thing. I can understand why we currently like it. Like social marketing is changed the world. Like celebrities and influencers, I think is a very interesting character. They're not characters, like people like this exist, but they're very interesting, I think, personas to explore. Also, I love the small college vibes. At least I think I do, because I went to a complete opposite, like, type of school. I went to a school like within the city. There was like no campus. It was just like part of Toronto, and I feel like I would enjoy like a small college experience, like in Monsters Inc. University. I want to go to a school like that. Okay, this next one is also, it's not contemporary, but it's more historical. Okay, let me just say it's about the gold rush during the California West Coast gold rush. There were a lot of people from China who came to the US to help with the gold mine, and this would be about a family, I guess, I don't think families, I don't know, I need to do research. I don't think a lot of families came. It was mostly like the men, and they would send money back home. That's what I'm assuming. But for the purposes of this story, a family would have immigrated to the US while the dad works in these mines, and it would be the character kind of going through what it's like to live. What year is that? When was the California Gold Rush? 1848. Okay, what was it like for a person like me, well, I'm not an immigrant, but a person like me in 1848 California? I think that would be very interesting to explore, especially like diaspora people in China back then. The men, at least, they wore like long braids because that was part of the dynasty requirements at the time. And I think there would be like so much racism, but I know I'm like smiling. That's not a funny topic, but I feel like that's like a treasure trove to dive in and view. If you're not Chinese and you want to write the story, like, consider all the implications that will have. But I feel like there's a lot of stuff to explore. When I was younger, when I had this idea, I was thinking that the main character could fall in love with like, this sounds so wrong, like the son of one of the companies, the boss of the company's son, who's like obviously a white man. But I recently watched like Cindy Pham's video where she was critiquing how a lot of readers really enjoy like an imbalance of power, especially between like white people and like non-white people. You should take a watch of that video because she made some really interesting points. And I wonder, even though I'm Asian, I was born into this romance world where that's a common thing, and I don't want that to be really a thing in this story idea, or if it is, I want to approach it in like a very nuanced way. So yeah, I think this would be pretty cool. I love history. Okay, we can go back to the genre fiction now. This next one, I think we're on 16. This is the only dark academia story on this list. So this is a group of students obsessed with necromancy and want to bring back the Semper Augustus, the most valued tulip in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, I think, oh god, when is this? 1500s. There was a tulip mania where tulips were worth more than houses. The Semper Augustus was one of the most prized tulip. It was like really expensive. And I think this idea is interesting because it involves scholars trying to bring back like things, past things have been extinct. So I'm not just talking about flowers in this case. It doesn't even have to be like something like a mammoth or a saber-toothed tiger, but any animal that has recently become extinct. I saw this one video where it was a bird calling for a mate, and there was no mate because it was the last bird. I think there's something like a little bit romantic about trying to bring back like dead animals and plants specifically. I'm not talking about people. This is purely focused on like an academic perspective of studying these creatures in today's world with magic and science or whatever. But with that obsession that dark academia always has, and what it says about institutions, and why did these animals go extinct in the first place? Could it be related to colonization and people coming in and like destroying the landscape? All that good stuff. I want to speed through because this video is getting too long. Number 17. This is another tropey one. An assassin needs to kill a princess. But that princess is protected by a bodyguard, so essentially it's going to be like a love triangle. There's going to be the trope of bodyguard romance, and it'll be a fun one. Because what if all three of them end up together? You know, why choose? Okay, number 18, another one of my favorites, sci-fi ideas, sentient spaceship and a crew of misfits / female space pirates. So cool. I love sentient spaceships and female space pirates like taking over the galaxy and looting the world and like being their boss ass self. Love it. Okay, number 19. This one is so interesting. This is just a concept, like a world building idea. So an Earth with rings and maybe a main character who's trying to challenge the religion of this world and want to point out that these rings are actually like asteroids, like small rocks forming around the planet. I watched this video recently, I'll link him down below, where he was explaining, the person in the video was explaining how an Earth with rings would be so different for now. There's so many reasons for that, because with rings in the world, it creates completely different climates. The way the rings fall on the earth will create like a cooler, way cooler temperature. Like seasons will be different. I'm not gonna explain this because I'm like trying to rush now, but you should just watch this video. And a lot of people, like back in the day, like back in the day, they find meaning in stars, like gods are created out of stars, like lore like that. I think for this world we can create lores of like the rings. Like what does the celestial rings mean? What does it mean? Like maybe where the ring ends, that's where like life ends, or maybe that's where life starts. There's so much to go with it. I would recommend watching the video down below. The 20th idea I have is one that I am trying to incorporate in a short story. A new technology where you can sell your face or voice to a company, and you can like lease your face for a price, and the company can do whatever you want with it. This is actually not an original story idea. We've seen this in Black Mirror. We've also seen this in The Creator. I watched that recently. It's a sci-fi movie. Oh yeah, and also recently I think Meta did something like that with Kendall Jenner. Kendall Jenner was like your own personal assistant or something. I'll put in this video.
Hey guys, it's Billy. I just want to introduce myself. I am here to chat whenever you want. Message me for any advice. I am ready to talk, and I hope to talk to you soon.
And then the last idea, because we definitely can't have an original Kelly story idea without alien flowers as theme. A botanist finds a secret garden amongst a destroyed alien civilization and investigates to understand why this garden is a secret without being actually able to talk to these alien people because they're no longer here. I have a very similar story idea that I'm trying to work on, but it's not going anywhere. These ideas are not going anywhere because I am focused on only one book at a time now. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. I really just wanted to share my brain with you, pick my brain apart. I really love all these story ideas. Like honestly, I would work on them if I could, but I can / maybe don't want to. So definitely take these ideas for yourself. If you get this published, or if you're self-publishing, or if you get accepted at a magazine based on these ideas, please let me know. I would want to read it. I think after making this video, the idea that I'm really interested in is actually the dark academia one, and also the California Gold Rush one. But thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in my next one. Bye.